Hey, what's up, my tricksters? It's your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh superhero back again, and today, guys, we're going to be testing the new some of the new water card support that just got revealed earlier this week. I didn't have a chance to really talk about it, but I figured I'll just go ahead and if you follow me on Twitter, I kind of made some commentary about it. So we're gonna showcase it in action. But before we get into that, guys, I really need you guys to remember that if you guys want to support the channel, there's two ways you can do that. There, first and foremost, there's the Your Playmats promotion. You go there and you click the link. It'll be the top one in the description, and you can get 10% off your order, and you'll get custom sleeves with any kind of background you want. I always take this opportunity to show you the ones I have that have my logo on the back. So if you're a content creator or aspiring one, that's a good thing to get. You can also get a playmat and get any kind of artwork you want on it. And speaking of artwork, the second way that you can support this channel is to check out my spring store. That is the second link in the description. I have some new artwork on some new merch on there with some new artwork that I created that I worked really hard on. Looking at real life dinosaurs and all, and mix mashing with like Jurassic Park stuff. There's dinosaur stuff, so if you love dinosaurs, it's the merch for you. And just before we head on out into those replay footage, I want to remind you guys there's also some spooky season stuff. So if you want some spooky season stuff, you better go now, because after November 1st, I'm taking all of it off. So go get your spooky season shirts now while they're available. Anyway, let's get into that replay footage and showcase you guys what the new water support can do. And there you have it, guys. Man, that last one was very much like an anime duel. So, I forgot to mention this at the beginning of the video. You guys are probably wondering, Ben, what's with the lab coat? The lab coat is just kind of like, I don't know, I think it might be just something I'm going to add to my aesthetic when I'm testing new cards that aren't here yet. You know? I don't know. I just thought it would be kind of fun. Like, you know, like I'm I'll be the judge of these. Let me put on my lab coat and let's put them to the test. Anyway. So let's go ahead and go over some of the cards. Now, before we get into anything, I want to remind you guys, you do not have to build your build my way. Okay, this is just an example. In fact, there's a bunch of cards in here you can probably already see that you can take out for your build. First of all, we have Phantasm Spiral Dragon. I refuse to play Phantasm Spiral without the dragon. That's just me personally. We got a Frostosaurus and a yugioh. That's probably not how you say his name. Yeah, the yugioh dude. You don't have to play this guy. In fact, if you're going to play high levels, you probably should just play 2 Frostosauruses. I just chose to play him, frankly, just because he looked cool. No other real reason. There's no real reason. You definitely want Megalomasher. This card's important. I was playing Glacial Aquamador. He just never came up. You might be able to cut this. I know in previous builds, people were talking about this card, and sure, being able to save your normal monster from being destroyed in battle is good and all, but it just never came up for me. Ash Blossom, you know, every deck needs it, unfortunately. Upstart, Terraforming, Monster Reborn, you know, so staple cards. Now we get into some new stuff, so just in case you guys haven't heard, we got a new card called Fish Sonar, and Fish Sonar is the best search card that this deck could possibly ask for, and probably also some other decks too. Basically, what you can do is you can add 1 level 7 or lower monster that is a water normal monster, or specifically list Yuumi in the text from the deck to the hand. Then if Yuumi is on the field, you can special summon 1 water normal monster from your deck. You can only activate 1 Fish Sonar per turn. So, first things first, you're going to want to realize, you're like, well, wait a minute, it says you can only add a level 7, right? It's true, but the water monster you special summon doesn't have a level stipulation. So we can use this card when we have a Yuumi out to get out our free Phantasm Spiral Dragon. Now, like I said, I was basically just playing yugioh here for style points. He just looks cool, that's all. Realistically, this would be another Frostosaurus if I was going to go realistic about it, which is like kind of funny because it almost makes like a water dino deck almost. It's kind of funny. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, guys, I count Phantasm Spiral in the dinosaur category of decks because usually it's Megalomasher's their main dude. Just saying. Alright, back to the deck revolve. We got Called by the Grave because, you know, hand traps are a pain in the butt. Then we got Piercing the Darkness. Now, this card is Dark Magician support, technically. However, any deck that plays normal monsters that are high level can abuse it. So, basically, this card is Upstart Goblin for normal monster decks, as well as it's a one-time boost for either a normal monster that is battling or an extra deck monster, except for a Link, that has used a normal monster as material. So, that's kind of cool. It's basically like an Upstart Goblin every turn, or an Honest, and an Honest in battle. I only played the one, mostly because I only have one on order. I may order more of this now, since I got to play with the card in action. We'll see. But one seems fun to me. Alright, now we got Sea Stealth 2. This is another new card. Now, also for the record, before we go any further, I know there's a lot of Yuumi cards that were new that you're not seeing me play, and it's one of two reasons. Either it didn't really work with the water deck I like to play, which is Phantasm Spiral, or the artwork wouldn't load. So I'm on Edo Pro right now, so I just decided it wasn't worth fighting with Edo Pro about or having a blank face there for a video. So I'll experiment with the deck again in the future. We'll do a 2.0 or something. Anyway, Sea Stealth 2 has a... This card is actually okay. It's not as good as I want it to be, but it's It's pretty good. It was helpful. I was just lowering it down to 2 though instead of 3. Just FYI. But for this video, most of the time, except when I was going to the sideboard, it was a 3. Excuse me. So the first thing is it becomes Yuumi on the field, which is really powerful. It is Yuumi only on the field, like not in the deck. It's only on the field or in the graveyard, which the Yuumi decks have needed a card like this for so long. That especially not one like they have a monster that can do this, but they really needed a spell. So this actually is really handy in that aspect because it lets a lot of our other cards be live more often. One of the other things is that at the start of the battle phase, you can special summon a water monster that is in your hand or your graveyard. Also, your opponent cannot target water monsters with non-water monster effects. So basically, like if they play like Nightmare Cerberus, for example, your water monsters are safe. So that's kind of cool. It's not all that relevant in today's game, but kind of useful. And then, like I said, at the beginning of the battle phase, you get to special summon a water monster, normal water monster in face-up defense mode, or one that has Yuumi in the text. Those are like the only water monsters that with effects they can summon are ones that talk about Yuumi. But since I'm playing Phantasm Spiral, that never came up. They were all normies for me, which is really good because guess what? He's 29/29. That's just convenient. One of the things that you can do, there's a combo that's really cool with Sea Stealth, and it's with Sea Stealth Attack. Basically, what you can do is you activate Sea Stealth and you bring back the water monster, right? And then you activate Sea Stealth Attack to banish the water monster, right? Now you're thinking, why is that important? Because at the end of the battle phase, that water monster would be destroyed. So, since he wasn't around at the end of the battle phase, he comes back at the end of the turn. So Sea Stealth Attack can actually... Basically, this is a slow way to get back all your water monsters, so that's really cool. Then you got some of the equip spells for Phantasm Spiral. We're not going to go over them. They're familiar. You're most likely familiar with those. Then we got the Pacifist Phantasm City. This card is also treated as Yuumi, period. No matter where it is in the deck. And then, of course, we got the trap cards. Well, guess what's also fun about the trap cards? The trap cards say if Yuumi's on the field and you have a normal water monster on the field or a normal monster on the field, you can activate them from the hand, right? Well, that's where this card is actually kind of useful. It's not as good as Pacifist, mind you, but it is good enough to get the trap cards to go off, which basically means if we didn't draw the field spell, at least we got our pseudo field spell, which lets us play our Spiral Battle and our Spiral Power, which Spiral Power is just infinite impermanence for this particular deck. So, really cool. The Metaverse, it's another way to get to the Pacifist. You still want the Phantasm City. The Phantasm City is still the bread and butter of this deck. It's still, oh look, I normal summoned, I got a free card. If you activated something, I get to get a token, which is pseudo plussing. Yeah. And then you got your Sea Stealth Attack, which, by the way, which is really a funny card because a lot of people forget it actually has 2 effects. Most people are thinking about the effect to either get Yuumi out of the graveyard and to protect the back row from destruction, which is all well and good. But a lot of them people forget that level 5 or higher water monsters all become like Catastor on the field. So anytime they battle anything, it's like, oh, I'll just destroy it automatically. So that's actually really handy, especially when you're in a bind. And the really cool thing is, thanks to Fish Sonar, you actually have ways to get out bigger normal monsters for free. Also, by the way, you still get to do that with Sea Stealth too, because like if it goes to the battle phase, these kind of cards aren't necessarily the deadest thing in your hand. Now, granted, they will come out in defense mode where they're not the best. But like I said, there's also a combo with Sea Stealth Attack, so you can banish them, bring them back on, at the end of the turn, and then on your turn you'll get to use them and put them in defense. So it's kind of cool how we got 2 cards that give us extra ways to use high-level water monsters, which we didn't have access to before. I do also find it a little bit, it does please me that like, Frostosaurus is like one of the better ones, and it's a dinosaur. So that just makes me giddy inside. All right, and then you have the extra deck, which is completely irrelevant. You can put anything you wanted here, anything. because you will never use it. In fact, if you have access to things like Pot of Extravagance or Pot of the new one of the other pot cards, the new one that's like Pot of Duality, only better, you could pretty much use those cards and make this deck 10 times better than it already is, literally, if you want to, because your extra deck is just most, for the most part, it's doesn't matter at all. It never comes into play. Also, I will let you guys know Glacial Aquamador didn't do too much for me. If you like it, you can play it. But if I was going to be, some of the changes I would automatically make to this deck now is I definitely think I would take out the Aquamadors. I think I would main deck Pankratops, because Pankratops can make himself get off the field, which is handy for pacifist. And then I would just play Frostosaurus over Gagago here. Go more into the dinosaur stuff. That's just me personally. You also have a few other options. Like I said, there's a few other cards that are really cool that are Yumi related you can use. Like, for example, if you have a number of water monsters that will fire higher, like you can use Rage of the Kairushin or whatever to destroy stuff. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like a Dark Hole-esque card there. And then you've got Abyss Storm, which is kind of like, it sends all the spells and trap cards with Yumi. So, like, if you have, like, a Phantasm City or a Sea Stealth 2, you can just basically send them and then get rid of all those spells and traps. So if you're up against another spell and trap based deck, you have another way to do that. That's just thoughts. There's still tons of stuff to do. If you guys have any suggestions for Phantasm Spiral going forward, feel free to leave those in the comments section below. I'm not going to lie, guys. This deck is pretty fun to play. And I hope that these new water cards are going to be easily gettable. I really do hope so. I imagine Fish Sonar might probably be a little pricey if it's a foil. I'm not going to lie. That's what my gut instinct tells me anyway. All right, guys. Well, like I said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you're new to the Ben 1000 YGO channel, please consider subscribing, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.